himself up from this.
Yeah.
It's our old friend Jonathan Majors, who is quickly turning into the Morbius and Ezra Miller of 2023 for us.
Yeah. Yeah. I was not expecting this.
No, I mean, I thought I was kind of stretching, finding him interesting enough to be annoyed by how much they were shilling him early on. Because
Yeah.
for those of you who didn't see the previous episodes, our journey with Jonathan Majors this year was, he gets announced, or they kind of big him up for Creed, and because
Mhm.
Quantumania was coming up,
Yeah.
and I I have this eternal contrarian streak in me.
Yeah, I do
Like,
too. Yeah.
if you tell me, oh, Jonathan Majors is the best actor to ever act. He's amazing. Oh man, he was so electric in Creed 3, and man, Ant-Man 3 wasn't very good, but Jonathan Majors was electric in every scene. He's great. Kang is going to be awesome. My
Yeah.
my my first instinct is you can't tell me what to like.
Yeah.
Let
Yeah.
me judge for my own.
Yes. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
sorry, I was just going to continue our story. So so I said, okay, I'm having an immediate knee-jerk reaction. Let's actually watch him in something, and then we can actually
Mhm.
have an informed opinion. So we watched uh,
Devotion.
Devotion. Thank you. I couldn't think
Yeah.
of the word. So we watched Devotion, and that was a perfectly fine movie.
Hmm.
I, he didn't come across as being able to necessarily play a supervillain, but he wasn't playing a supervillain in the movies. So it could just be range.
Yeah. 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 He was playing a fighter pilot in the Korean War.
The greatest supervillain of them all, Airman.
Yeah. But Chengiz said he was genuinely good in Creed 3. So,
And I have no reason to doubt that.
yeah.
So just around the time when we talked ourselves into, okay, we'll give him a chance.
Hmm.
They're trying to shill him a little bit, but that isn't his fault. That doesn't objectively reflect on him as an actor or anything like that.
Yeah.
And so what
Yeah.
happens not too long after we decided to just move on from our knee-jerk reactions?
Yeah, he gets into trouble. Yeah.
Gets into trouble. Um, so Daniel, I had cut you off from a point when I was in the middle of my retelling of the story.
Oh, no, no problem. Um, yeah, and so yeah, seeing him getting artificially, I would say, kind of astroturfed in a
Yes.
way, because and we've seen this with other Hollywood actors where they're getting pumped up artificially, like um, Midnight's Edge brought up these actors like Sam Worthington.
And
Um,
he is so lucky he got into Avatar.
oh yeah, 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 because everything else he was in has been it's just been ugh. Um, uh, Jai Courtney.
I completely forgot about him.
Yeah. What's really funny is he's in uh, the Terminal List as a TV show on Amazon Prime with Chris
Mhm.
Pratt.
Yeah.
And they build his character up to be like the big baddie, and then they pull the rug from under you and say, no, he's not the big baddie. He's just a big wuss. And Chris Pratt just takes him out easily.
Oh, poor Jai.
Yeah. Uh, and then Taylor Kitsch, I think that's how you pronounce
Kitsch,
it.
that
Kitsch,
sounds right.
yeah, Kitsch. I mean, he was in like John Carter Mars, which was notoriously a notorious bomb. Battleship, which was a not only a
Oof.
bomb but a god awful movie.
Yeah, John Carter Mars, you can at least say that was entertaining.
Well, I've never seen that one, so I can't comment on it. But
I don't I don't know if I would recommend going out of your way to watch it,
uh,
but it's Jesus, one of the people, it must be people that's just jamming me with ads.
yeah, it must be people. Yeah,
Because I installed this ad blocker like right before the show started because I was getting tired of some of the ads from some of these websites,
yeah.
and it has already blocked 10,000 ads.
God. Oh man.
Or maybe it's Fandom
Fan,
Wire.
Phantom Wire, yeah, one of those two, or it could have been Collider that you had up open earlier. But
That's true.
But yeah, or all of the above. But yeah, so the same thing was happening with Jonathan Majors, where he was being propped up, and I kind of had the same reaction. I'm like, okay, all right, why is everybody, trying to make this guy the next big, Hollywood's really trying hard to make this guy the next big thing, and then all of a sudden, he gets into trouble,
Mhm.
and we of course we talked about it on this show, and we tried to be as we tried to sit on that fence as best we possibly could, because
Yeah.
it was pretty early on. We didn't know, didn't have all the facts. It was, we were just kind of saying, okay, well, let's let the legal process play itself out. Well, things have gotten worse for him. uh
Yeah, it sounds like
you
people are
know
coming out of the woodwork to say, I also.
yeah, which which does tend to happen in cases like this, and I always find it really interesting when it does, because it's like, okay, well, why, number one, why didn't you say anything years before?
Hmm.
That now that could very well be because he was a nobody. I hate to use this word, but a nobody actor. He wasn't anybody. He wasn't a star. And I guess once he started getting some recognition, that's when everybody started to come out and
Well,
say this.
and aside from apparently a few people making veiled allusions on Twitter, it really came out when he got arrested.
Mhm.
And at the time, we were kind of taking the text messages between him and his girlfriend at face value of it being somewhat exonerating. A lot of people have read that as like an afraid person scared of their abuser and not wanting to get
Yeah,
on their bad side.
yeah, and you could well, and of course that's kind of the problem with text messages, is there's no nuance. You know.
Yeah, because I could say that was the greatest movie ever, versus that was the greatest movie ever.
Hmm.
Uh,
Yeah, yeah, and so as a result of all of that, and um, his talent management has dropped him.
yep. Uh,
His PR firms dropped him.
which
Um,
I was listening to Mahler talk about this, and he's like, "Wait, that's what I pay you for, is to tell me what to do in situations like this.
yeah,
You're my PR agency. What do I do?
yeah, yeah. When your PR agency drops you, it's like, oh yeah, we can't help you.
There's no spinning."
Yeah. Um, but and so now, as these dominoes are starting to fall, it's like, how long is it going to be before we hear from Disney?
To kind of tie our stories of the day together, you almost wonder if Disney is a slow rolling it because of the backlash they got after the situations with James Gunn and Gina Carano.
Yeah, and also Johnny Depp. Um,
Oh yeah, forgot about him.
yeah, and that could very well be it. Yeah, that they don't want to they don't want to overreact.
Hmm.
Um, Now, as far as the legal process, as far as the legal case, like, I don't know what's going on there. Like, there was, his lawyer came out and said that there was video evidence exonerating him. We have not seen that video evidence.
Yep.
Don't even know if it actually exists.
Yeah, though you wonder, like I think wasn't she taken to the hospital with bruises from like strangulation or something like that?
Yeah, and apparently she was unconscious.
So okay, hit to the head, you can actually, walk into a doorknob, fall down some stairs, you know,
Hmm.
that can happen. Strangulation, like how does that unless there's some David Carradining going on.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. There's yeah, or yeah, there's something in some bedroom activity got a little too out of hand, you know.
Yeah, but that
But
it, either way, this is not looking good for him because the longer it It's an unfortunate thing where just because he is kind of still at the very early stages of yeah, even if they're astroturfing him, he was a big name all of a sudden.
Yeah.
You aren't going to bounce back from this necessarily or at all, even if you're found innocent.
Yeah. Yeah, because an accusation like that, like what he's being accused of, I mean, I've seen this so often. I've seen it a lot because I used to. I was a pretty big sports fan for a long time. I followed professional sports, like specifically football and baseball.
Hmm.
And anytime a player had some sort of trouble like this, it was just like, oh, geez, And more often than not, they would all, they'd get like, they get suspended from the league, and then the team they play for would cut them, and they couldn't get another, no other team would pick them up, or maybe a team would pick them up, and then something else would happen. Just yeah,
Yeah. So just to continue riding that fence, we aren't saying one way or the other what exactly happened. It doesn't look good, and it feels like enough people are deciding, you know what, we don't necessarily need to make our Otis Redding biopic tied to this guy.
yeah, yeah. It's pretty amazing how quickly he went from being top of the world to bottom of the barrel.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm. Although again, an accusation like what he's being accused of will do that.
Unless your name is Ezra Miller.
Yeah.
I can tell you that I've been on Twitter many times, and everyone's just like, "Wait a second, why is he getting jettisoned and Ezra Miller gets to carry on?"
Well, the obvious explanation is that Ezra Miller has the right pronouns.
Yeah, that does seem to be the way that the pyramid goes. Uh,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's yeah. Jonathan Majors is an African American man. Ezra Miller is a non-binary they them. So he's a little higher. Yeah,
uh, Dresses like this in public.
yeah, yes.
Yeah.
Um,
I think it's
yeah.
also the difference, though, between it's also the difference between Jonathan Majors Kang Dynasty movie being a script, a not even written script from the sounds of it at this point,
Hmm.
versus the Flash having been basically filmed two, possibly three times over. It's like Ezra is a sunk cost at this point. We're going to get whatever money we can get out of it. Well, I still strongly believe that no matter what they're saying in public to try to up the movie a bit, like, oh, Ezra might have a future with us. Our plans are fluid. There is no way.
Yeah.
I would be legitimately shocked if they actually did that.
I, I
And
I would be too. Yeah. In not only because of everything that they've done, but because I mean, James Gunn is basically just rebooting the whole franchise.
except for the stuff that he was directly involved in,
Right.
because favoritism.
Yes.
But yeah, it is one of those amusing little bits of hypocrisy, but I think it is just a different situation. And man, if you could go back in time and tell David Zaslav, just put the movie out in June, or excuse me, in January. Trust us. Put out The Flash in January, take the hit, then you don't have to worry about it ever again.
Yeah.
I think he would have gone for it.
Yeah. Yeah. He might have. Yeah. Um, and of course, I also think too, when they comes to marketing the Flash movie, they're going to lean so heavily on Michael Keaton Batman.
Yeah. It's going to be very interesting to see how that one actually does, because I have this. I could see maybe $100 million, maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
That would be 100% Michael Keaton bucks.
Yes. They're definitely not going to see it for Flash, and they're definitely not going to see it for Supergirl.
No, especially not that Supergirl.
Yeah, yeah. And what they're doing with that, I mean, what they're doing with that Flashpoint storyline, just ugh.
Yeah, I've heard. I remember back in the day, people were saying, "Don't worry, guys, we can keep this Snyderverse going. We just use Flashpoint to reboot things." Imagine trying to explain to your mother why the movies that you dragged her to that she didn't really like are now being fixed because of this other movie with this guy
Yeah.
going back in time. And oh, it's a new continuity going forward. That's confusing enough for comic book fans.
Yeah, yeah, it's even more confusing for normies. Yeah.
Yeah. But I think that just about sums it up. It's just not a good situation all around.
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah. Yeah. Well, they'll just I'm sure this won't be the last we talk about it. Um,
Nope.
yeah.
Probably another month before we actually get some information because, as I recall, the trial actually happens in May.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and the courts are not known for their being speedy.
Which is odd since isn't there a whole constitutional amendment about being guaranteed a speedy trial?
Yes.
Hmm. Well,
Defend Yeah, well,
dark times.
yeah. It depends on your definition of speedy.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Well, gang,
It's
I think that's all we have for the week.
Yeah, I think so too. Thank you